This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community. Happy holidays, PTG family. We hope you're doing amazing out there. This episode is brought to you by HK Army, and it is time to level up your game with the newest evolution in performance. Introducing the HK Army Razor R5 marker by Planet Eclipse, the ultimate paintball gun for players who demand power, precision, and perfection. This marker isn't just designed to perform, it is engineered to dominate. With its sleek construction, lightweight feel, and lightning fast capabilities, the Razor R5 will have you outshooting the competition in style. And let's talk about style. The Razor R5 comes in 5 amazing colorways: the Stealthy Onyx, the Electrifying Amped, the Gold Standard Midas Gold, the Clean and Sharp Pure, and the Fiery Bold Scorch. No matter your style, there is a colorway for you. Do not miss your chance to own the HK Army Razor R5, the marker that's changing the game. Shop now at hkarmy.com or your favorite retailer to claim yours before they are gone. The HK Army Razor R5 is live right now. Take aim, take control, go shop at hkarmy.com.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the last episode of 2024, and we definitely go out with a bang. We have the OGs, Thomas Taylor and Maddie Marshall, on the show. We talk about some off-season news, some holiday stuff, and take a peek into the 2025 season. This is an episode you won't want to miss, so without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon. Great shot by all the guys, though. Tyler Harmon saved that game. He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
Welcome back, PTG Nation. Episode number 281. Happy New Year to everybody out there. 2025 is upon us. Today we have one of the biggest legends in the game, a name that is synonymous with paintball greatness over 2 decades, fierce competitor, one of the most iconic Mohawk warriors ever to grace the paintball field. Really excited to have you here, Thomas, with us. How you doing, brother?
Oh, man, I am doing great. Just had a wonderful holiday. How are you boys?
Doing good. Doing really
good. Doing well. Holidays were good. We got one more to get through with New Year's, but Christmas is the big one. But man, what an intro. What a damn intro.
Yeah.
What an intro right there.
Tyler said it. I almost walked off into the sunset right then. Just said,
I think that was it. Yeah, show's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Thomas, I've been so fortunate enough to watch your entire career from when I was a little kid growing up in Modesto, when you first made your debut into the pro scene from Cartel. You made the move down from Washington, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
landed down there in Modesto and was training down there. And I would be playing on Wednesday nights with like you and Dave Baines and Rich and Jack when he was making the alien gun, and a bunch of legends out there. Even got to see like the Matrix. I just saw a picture of the Squid Matrix OG paintball marker. I saw that whole gun developed with all you guys out there. So you've had a truly storied career and one of the most iconic players of all time in our sport. You know, what you've paved for so many paintball players out here in this landscape today is a derivative of you and all your hard work and determination. And that hard work and determination has not wavered even to this very moment. You know, you're still one of the hardest working paintball players out there. So flowers where flowers are deserved. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't just go, doesn't come easy. So we appreciate you, man.
Appreciate that, man. It means a lot to me. It really does.
Yeah.
You know, I loved seeing you come up as a little kid. Marcel was a little bit older when I met him, but I got to see him come up from basically a kid,
I mean, I was still young. I was still like
Yeah,
16,
yeah. You were still just a baby, and now I'm getting to watch my boy do it and help him on his journey. And dude, I just out of all the things I've been blessed with over the years doing this, investing into others and watching them grow is the most rewarding. You take the trophies off the wall, the wins, the losses. That's where the reward is, man. I'm watching you guys sign the biggest deals in history, making a super team. Like, you don't understand how proud of you I am, and just watching everybody, come along their path. I mean, it really means a lot to me. It really does.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, Thomas. I mean, you have shown that, especially the last couple of years. I've really enjoyed watching you kind of transition into this coaching role, and I'm sure you've done it much longer than that. But it seems like the last couple of years, you've really had your hands on a lot of successful youth players, and really been paving the way for young players coming up. Obviously, your son Keith is one of the foundational members of the iconic team that you work with, and the kids team that has won multiple world championships. And you're absolutely right. That is one of the most fulfilling things that I know I do in paintball. Seeing, the younger players achieve goals that they set out to achieve, or even watching them fail and see how they react to that and respond, and what kind of development that does for their character. It's a really rewarding thing on both ends, and you've been excellent at it. Out at the WCPPLs, have been able to sit by in the pit and watch, obviously with Team USA and, the combine. You're out there last year. I really love, the way you connect with the players. It's a different coaching style, right? And it's kind of similar to how I coach too. It's more than just the X's and O's. You're really good at, and there's no surprise. I mean, you got 20 years, like Tyler said, 2 decades of mastery and experience in the professional division. But what I appreciate about your coaching style is you really do a good job of keeping the players mindful in a calm way of everything going on in the game. Whether it's like when they come into the pit, it can get chaotic, and you have a calming way of being like, hey guys, just so you know, it's 3-1. This is the score, the time. They keep trying to push down this side. You unpack a lot of information in a really clear and concise way, which a lot of individuals can't do, and a lot of coaches can't do. And that just kind of speaks to your paintball IQ and your ability to connect with humans, But yeah, it's been incredible to watch your transition there as well, because I think, the future of the game is only, it's in the hands of the next generation. Those are the players that are going to decide where this game goes. So it's important that we nurture that. That's why, Anthony, myself, Lori, everyone puts in so much effort into the youth, Team USA stuff and the summer camps and all of the programs that we have. And I know you've got your thing up in the, Pacific Northwest almost every single weekend. It seems like you're at the field. You got drill nights and drill sessions. It is imperative that we have, the next wave of professional players that are hungry and dedicated and push this thing to new heights.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I mean, just piggyback off that, I really feel like, watching you coach, Marcel, has been really cool with the kids, right? I see your passion, your love for the kids and what they're doing and putting your energy into them, man. And, the sport cannot thank you enough for what you're doing. Absolutely, brother.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. It's a big team effort, right? There's a lot of us that are doing this right now, and a lot of us that are part of this. And, again, Tyler speaks to it quite frequently. We're going to continue to try to highlight the sport of paintball, and we're going to try to give back to the sport of paintball because, this game has done so much for all three of us sitting right here, as far as the relationships, experiences, what it's exposed us to, the opportunities. Can't say enough about what the game has done for my life. I know you both feel the same. So it feels good to be able to give back. And I want other players, young players, old players, new players, it doesn't really matter. I want other players to be able to experience the same type of fruits that we've been able to, garnish from this thing. So, it's a mutual thing. It's rewarding, and hopefully it helps others as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thomas, what are you guys working on up there in the Northwest? I know you guys are always staying active up there.
Yeah. So this year we I've been running the youth program for the last few years, and this year to really expand upon that and to, kind of take that to the next level, we ran some tryouts over the off season. I guess we're still in the off season, but pretty quick into the off season, because I know how it gets. Every program, every field starts doing stuff. So we had some players we were looking at, and we ran tryouts for a D3 squad, a D4 squad, and to rebuild our D5 squad because we've kind of moved all of our kids and players up from there. And it was really cool, man. We had a couple kids out from Florida. We had kids, from up and down the coast, people all over. Had about, I think initially it was supposed to be about 35 people coming out. But then I had a lot of conversations with people like, this isn't just, hey, we're going to join another paintball team. Like, these are the requirements. This is what it's going to cost you. We're playing the WCPPLs. That's our focus. We're regimented. This is like a real sport. Like, if you're going to do traveling football or baseball, whatever, had to have some conversation with parents. So by the time we actually got to the tryout, we had 22 people come in, right? Because people all of a sudden, had to make real life decisions. Like, don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste your time. And out of that, we actually brought in 18 of them to help fill up 3 lines. So instead of me just coaching 1 line next year, we'll have 3 lines. Really the focus this year is, player development. So I preached a lot about player development. And the way to do that is to create inner competition. So we place like 5 people on the D3 line, 5 people on D4 line. We have, the D5 line is it is what it is because that's the newer players coming in. And then we have a bunch of people. I said, here you go. You have an opportunity to play wherever your work ethic and your drive and your growth can take you to. And in the efforts that we are all one big team, not this is my team and that's your team, but we are a program with a goal to create, 2 premier teams by the end of the year. Like that's the goal. Like you guys should all be able to play premier by the end of the year. Right. So that was our focus this year. So I feel like I got a lot of hungry individuals, players that have been playing other teams. And, you know how it is. You meet all these players and they want to go somewhere, but they never have a group to do it with. Right. Half the team wants to go play nationally. Half the team wants to play regionally. The others want to, practice, or play locally. Right. So finding those players that say they want it, and we're going to find out, if they can achieve that, and I'm going to be there. My assistant coach Pete's going to be there. Tiff, she takes care of all of us. Paintball mom, she's going to be there, and we're going to be just working with this group of people. We have about 24 total in our camp right now, just to help them achieve their dreams, man.
Outstanding. Yeah, you guys have one of the best paintball families in the country, without a doubt. I mean, from top to bottom, everyone in there is working hard and cares about each other. And we are going to just get straight on into it. We have about 20 minutes with you here on the show. We're going to have Maddie Marshall, who's going to hop in here and chat with us for a little bit. Shout out to the GOAT. And we have some members. Are you in the Discord? Are you in PTG World? I'm pretty sure.
I'm in there.
Yeah.
What's going on. Okay.
So you probably saw some of the questions, I would imagine, but we're just going to hop into some of these with Blaine. Obviously, people want to know what you're doing this season. That's a huge question on the minds of thousands of people out there. So hopefully we can unpack that a little bit. Blaine's wondering, Thomas, how many teams hit you up about joining? Which team are you going to be going with? Or do you have any news on where you might be landing for this upcoming season?
The people
I really wish we could break that right here. There's a lot to that question. So just so the people understand, because I get messaged and I love everyone, man. I get so many messages every day.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
I am at a point in my life where I have to make a lot of really big decisions. Right. So I'm here. You can see I'm at my real job right now, working at Microdose/Lumi. Shout out to these guys right here. I am no longer in the position just to play paintball because I love the sport. Okay. So let's just take that for starters. I can't just go play paintball, and I can't just go play for paintball for a team that makes it convenient, that maybe doesn't have enough funding, because if I'm going to spend any money on paintball, it's going to be on my son. It's his turn to take that. Right. So,
and let me just say, we're talking about young Keith, who is an absolute dog. So be on the lookout for Keith. Keith Taylor is coming, and I want to see that boy be a huge success. So Keith, if you ever need anything, you got PTG on your side as well. We want to see you in the Discord. We want you to be messaging us, and we want to take you under our wing as well, and make sure that you're successful out there, bro.
Thank you, man. He appreciates that. He really does love you guys. He's really grown fond of this dude over here. Oh wait, it's a backwards camera. Over the time from Team USA and stuff. But so just so everybody can unpack where I'm at, there's not a lot of teams in paintball that have really good budgets. Most of those teams that do already have pretty full rosters. A couple of those teams going into the offseason, I thought I was going to play on, and but they were waiting for some other pieces, some younger pieces, or people that play different spots, and they have they had made other decisions. So there are still a few options for me to play out there, but there's also a few options for me to coach. And I have not made any decisions, whether I'm going to coach pro or coach semi-pro. I'm going to be involved in our thing. Maybe I still play, but there is just, you have time, you have money, and you have real life. And every time I have a talk with a coach or an owner, those things just have not all lined up, right? So maybe there's one team that can afford flights and to cover some of my work gone, but you got to go 3 weekends in a row every time. That's 15 weekends. That's multiple time missed here. And so, as you guys know, I mean, I'm not a young kid without a family. I have 6 people I have to afford. I can't be missing 10 days worth of work and not have that compensated and be gone 3 weekends in a row and explain to Tiff how she's going to be taking care of the family and that not actually benefit our family. Right. And, we may have talked about this on one of the other episodes, but when we had Harmony, that was our second child. We have 4 for all of you that don't follow along. I made a commitment way back then. If it is going to cost our family money or time, if it doesn't make sense to move our family forward, then I just won't do it. Right. And that's a commitment that I'll never go back on. Right. So, and that's where I've been struggling. So to answer the question, yes, I've talked to a lot of teams. I've talked to a lot of owners. I've had good heart to hearts with, people in the industry, mentors I had, and I have not come up with where I want to go or what works best. I have a conversation with a team today that I'm supposed to have. I had a couple conversations with people last week, and those balls are rolling. But I honestly don't know. It has to make sense. If I'm going to be gone X amount of time, then it has to benefit my family. It can't just be for me to play paintball. Not that I'm saying I'm retiring. This isn't, hey, I'm retiring, I'm leaving. It has to be something that benefits my family, not just benefits the paintball team I'm going to. So it has to be a symbiotic relationship, right? I mean, it has to work for all of us. And ultimately in all of this, I need the fans to understand my first responsibility is my family. My second responsibility here is, paving a path for Keith. Those are my goals. That hasn't taken away from the fact that I'm out training every day. I'm working just as hard as anybody else. I'm still practicing. I'm in good enough shape to play every point or every third point. That doesn't make a difference. Whatever a team needs, right? My IQ is strong. I am ready. I get the call in an hour. Sure, I can play every point. Let's go. Show me which kid's going to outwork me. It's not going to happen. But it has to make sense for my family and my life. And I don't just run paintball fields anymore. I have a real job, and you only get so much time off work. You only get, you have to have real responsibilities. So, I'm not going to get a contract like you two. It's just, I'm a little bit older. I'm not there. Right. So, no one's going to come and offer me, 50 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand. I don't know what you guys got to offer. I'm so happy for you. You guys are going to have a great year, but I'm just not going to get one of those offers. So it has to still make sense though. Right. And I'm not, to be fair, boys, I ain't asking anybody for that kind of money. I mean, I get it. It just has to, it has to make, dollars and cents have to add up with time that's being asked for. And, we got a big glare coming in the back. I'm sorry, guys.
No,
you're good.
The sun is rising. But so it just hasn't happened yet, man. So, listen, I got faith. Something's going to work out. And,
well, you just said it. You said the sun is rising, baby. There's always hope. And
yes, sir.
It's
yes, sir.
Completely understandable, Thomas, everything that you just unpacked there. And it makes total sense. And I don't see how an organization isn't going to sweep you up because of all the details that we just went over cognitively and play-wise. There's going to be someone who's going to nab you up. I guarantee that. And we will be seeing you coming into the 2025 season in some capacity because there's too much value. There's too much context that you hold. You've acquired so much information and been at this for so long. It would be stupid for someone not to use that database of knowledge for their benefit going into this season. And I hope, I don't know, have you talked, I'm sure you've talked to the Uprising guys, but I could see that being like a great spot for you because it's local in the Northwest. They have a super hungry up and coming camp, and I think you could bring a lot of value there. I don't know if you've opened those doors yet.
Yeah, so Jimmy and Hickey are really good friends. I love Jimmy. He's great for the sport. He's always doing stuff. He's always giving back. And they have a really deep roster of players that have been loyal and been around and working. I mean,
yeah, how many?
14 guys in the roster. You can only roster 12. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they also are a group of really close friends that have been doing this forever. And, I don't want to divulge all, stuff that he said. They just,
of course,
they're not in a position to
make it make sense. You need. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would do anything for Jimmy Hickey though. I mean, he is the man. If he calls me up tomorrow and he needs to move Finlay, pack it up and move it to another building, I'm there, bro. Like that guy is awesome. I would do anything for him. He's a great human being. We always do. He supported the kids since day one. Jimmy Hickey's story, because I want to give a shout out to him. Before they ever went to their first World Cup, before those kids ever played a single 5-man game, he said, hey, if you go to World Cup and you win, I'm going to take care of you guys. He brought them hats before the first thing. He was going to give them a tour. He's going to them all stuff. And of course, they went and played the first 5-man ever, and they won, right? They won that World Cup. Never had played 5-man in their lives. And dude, he gave them a full tour. He let him make custom hats, whatever. He didn't know these kids. Sick. He didn't have to do anything. He just said, hey, do this. Now, he probably didn't think they were going to go win, assuming they had never played 5-man before, but he was a man of his word, and he's always taking care of them. So,
well, I wonder who taught those kids how to play, huh? I wonder how that happened. That's crazy. Wild.
Yeah, who's calling the shots in there?
I don't know that. I don't know. Some weird troll I hear. But yeah, so they were great, and I would love to help out the organization in any way I can. I'm always here for them. When I was running Impact down here, I was doing everything I could to set them up with good practices and provide a place for the team. They play up at DBS now a lot, up in Washington. Shout out to Danny and Dusty Court. But yeah, I mean, just once again, it just it's just not it's not in the cards right now.
Yeah. What's crazy too is it actually relative to previous off seasons, it's still early in the off season. It just feels late because so many moves happen so early, which hasn't happened in a very long time. But typically, the Diesel and Latin Saint thing kind of came together, January, I want to say. Like a lot of the big moves in previous seasons didn't, the dominoes didn't fall until January. Usually.
Well, if you think about Shock last year, right? So I went to New York at this time last year. Right. Yeah. That's when I went to New York. I left Infamous.
Yeah, right.
And it was just about like a week before this, right before Christmas. And Corey was still on the team because Shock didn't exist.
Yeah. Right.
And then we were about to fly to practice. Remember, you were coaching Wrecking Crew and Damage.
Yeah.
And Corey's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm going to the Shock practice. And we're like, oh, okay.
You're right. And so with Wrecking Crew, it's usually that third weekend in January, around January 18th, we go out to Florida and practice against Damage, and some of you guys, NYX, were there last year. And yeah, I remember the news had broke basically that weekend. Like all of NYX was like, yeah, I guess Corey's not here, and so that was the formation of Aftershock mid-January,
Mid-January, right.
So yeah, it is still relatively early in the offseason. There's still a lot of time, until practices get started in the first event. So a lot of stuff could still happen. Yeah,
and I've obviously it's been very humbling off season for me. I kind of figured I would be able to lock down something pretty quick, and I didn't. So I spent a lot of time just in prayer and talk to mentors and just like you said, there's so many teams that I still look around and see glaring holes. Even teams that picked up players didn't necessarily fill their needs. I'm not their coaches, so I'm not. Right. Maybe they see something I don't. We all see paintball teams a little bit different in how we do it. But there's a lot of teams that are running 7-8 man rosters, and we haven't started practicing yet. Tell me someone, and I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but every year someone has, a knee, a hamstring, something that goes down, right? So there's still lots of opportunities for me if I'm going to play. At least I believe there is, So, I mean, I'm still waiting for Dave to call. I know you guys got to open spots. I don't know what he's waiting for. But God is good, man. And if I coach or if I play, I will be as dedicated as I have been for the last 24 years, and nothing will change.
Thomas, not gonna lie, breaking some news here. I think we have 11.
11?
11.
Oh, did you keep some of the bodies from before?
Maybe even 12, actually. If you, I think, Darula and Zupa are going to kind of be available if needed.
Okay.
Just not to play a full season. I think Zupa's doing pretty well with his hip. And so I know that was kind of, part of the conversation with the team, especially once Mikey left, if we wanted to fill that hole. And it was like, we got a lot of bodies and those two are available.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, I think it's cool. I'm really excited about the, potential to play with Zupa. I've known him since he was a young kid. Actually, the first clinic that I ever did, I went with Nicky Cube out to Tennessee and did a clinic for CEP. And he was there. He was, 13, 14 years old. I guess Keith Brown was there too. I had forgotten that, which is totally wild. But yeah, so to see Zupa and how far he's come too, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Zupa's a baller, man. I love it. When I was coaching PC Katana when they're semi-pro, when they run their pro spot, he came on halfway through the season, and I was like, "Oh, this kid's got it. This kid's got it." I think he was what helped push us over the thing so they could win their pro spot. To be honest with you, like he was really the game changer. They could plug him and play him and put him in a lot of different positions, and he really helped the team, back then.
Yeah, what do you mean when you say a player has it? That's something you hear a lot of coaches or high-level pro players that have been in the game a long time. It seems like you can kind of look at a player, watch them play a match, and you can tell if they, air quote, got it or not. What are you looking for when you're looking at players, to see if they understand the game, or is it fundamentals? What is it exactly that gives you that information?
So fundamentals can always be taught, right? So we can always teach snap shooting, shooting off the break, running and shooting. All those things can be taught. So when I'm looking at a player and I think they got it, one, do they have athletic ability, right? How do they move around? But two, you can tell real quick that there is something about the way they move around the field, right? The way they react to their surroundings. So whether it be communication, whether it be timing, and those things usually take time to be taught over playing and playing and playing. But certain individuals just go in and they have that natural instinct. And can I put a word or a definition on it? Not really. But when you've done as many clinics as we've had, and when I've worked at Fields for 12 years now. When you've played as many games, you can just see, even in like the semi-pro players, like you look around that group and you're like, okay, well, two of those dudes could go pro and be active pros, not just on a roster, right? And it is the ability, in my mind, to affect the game, whether they realize it or not, right? They're affecting the game in a positive manner, and they're just doing it, right? They just have that, like, you're like, oh, well, why did he look that way? Just did, right? Like, or why did he make that bump? Okay, we just, right? And so having those little things, right? So, and probably if we went back and we did an IQ test, I would guarantee most of those people have a pretty high IQ. And that's probably the it factor. I don't want to beat down any of my athletes out there. All the athletes that you're working hard, yes, that is still a must. Do your thing, work out. But I truly believe what separates us from the others is the IQ portion of it. Because at a certain point, we're all pretty fast. We can all slide. We can all run and shoot. We can all gunfight. There's a confidence factor that comes in it. I'll tell you that. Like, you earn that confidence. If Tyler and I go get into a gunfight, but he's more confident than I, but we're both really good at snap shooting, he's probably just going to win that battle based on confidence outside of a lucky shot. And we all know snapshots, anybody can lose. But, right, there's that confidence factor. But people that really have it, that it factor for me is they just get the game and they can process it really fast, even if they don't know what they're supposed to be doing.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Totally.
Well, you did that wrong, but if you had just done this, you did it, but you reacted. Most people would have just taken a shot to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
There's a kid named James Wilcoxon. Shout out to James. If you're listening, you are the absolute man. But we've been watching him. He's from the Boston area, plays out at Anthony's Field, and we've been watching him, at the Combine and with Team USA for a couple seasons now. And you could tell he was really green as far as his fundamentals go. But when we were playing the tournament portion of the Combine, I was watching him just move around and make these moves and react to what the opponents are doing in such a high level way that I was like, wait, how have you been downloaded with this information already? It's like they have an innate ability for, just like tag, or cops and robbers. You know, they know how to avoid the danger and put themselves in the right position to have success. And maybe they're not succeeding, but you're thinking about the game in the correct way. And you're right. I do think it correlates with IQ, intelligence, ability to process information. That is part of the, air quote, it, like if a player has it. Thomas, we got one more question for you. We got Maddie Marshall in the green room right now. He's hanging out. We're going to pull him in a sec. You could say hi.
What up, Maddie?
Ty, I wanted to ask Steve's question. I think it's a fun one if you're down. Steve, he wants to know, since you've been around forever, put together your dream team to play with. Who would you pick from everyone you have played against or with for a team? So I guess it could be you and 4 others.
Man, that's a hard one.
No hurt feelings here. You can even exclude Tyler and myself if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's always a hard one. There's so many good players, because you have to have the killers, and then you have to have the clutch, right? That clutch factors, right? Like the Marcellos and the Tylers. I feel like you guys are both clutch. Not that you can't be killers, and you came up as killers, but you play more of that clutch role now, right? Having it come through. Man, I don't know. There's that. Let's just go off this last year. I'm going to go off this last season. How we're going to make it off of 2020, 2024. Okay. If we have to run through a team of players, we're going to start on the Dorito side. I'm going to put Brandon Cornell as the front Dorito over there. He balled this year. He was so good over there. Listen, I'm gonna put I'll put you behind him, Tyler. You can be behind him there. I like that. And then
sounds familiar.
Yeah. Screw it. Marcelo, you could just play the middle right here. Okay. And then and then Mouse and I are gonna go down the snake.
Oh man, dude. That's nasty. I'm not gonna lie. That's nasty.
All right. So let's just rip.
We see where Thomas'
hard,
head
man.
is
There's
at.
a lot of good players. Yeah, there's a lot of good players out there.
Okay.
There are.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thomas.
we're super grateful for you, Thomas, and everything that you've done for the game, bro. Seriously, from the bottom of our hearts.
100%.
Love you, boys.
Thomas, real quick, say hi to Maddie. We're gonna pull him in. I know you guys go way back. Mr. Marshall, good morning.
Good morning,
sir.
How you guys doing?
What's up, brother?
Doing good.
This is iconic right here. The gentleman that we have on our screen for all the listeners over on the YouTube have Matty Marshall and Thomas Taylor, some triple OGs that have just been
carved it
youngsters for a very long time. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, without these
Iron Man.
Yeah. Yes. Preach
fun
it.
Ride. Yeah, it was a great ride. Thomas is did I tell the Thomas Taylor origin story on your show before? Have I told that?
I mean, we've done like 35 hours in 3 episodes with you, so you may have, but there's a good chance you didn't too. Let's tell it again.
It's so I get a call from Rich Telford. I think it's 2001. 2000, because you came on for 2022. Anyway, whatever, early 2002. And it's not a weekend I'm gonna be playing paintball, which is pretty rare. And at the time, I'm living like a block from the beach down at Pacific Beach, and I'm like 23 years old, so having the time of my life. And Rich calls me up. He's like, "Hey, you got to play a tournament this weekend because we got to scout some players from Cartel." And I was like, "The hell I do! I'm going out this weekend, bro. It's a non-paintball weekend." He's like, "Come on, Maddie, I really need you to play this 5-man tournament. There's like autocockers for first place. And we got to look at this one dude specifically. His name's JT Bouchard." And I was like, "All right." And he's like, "Yeah, and there's going to be some other dudes that we want to get a look at too, but JT's the guy we're looking at." And I was like, "All right." So I'm like, "Fine. Let me get their numbers." So I called Thomas. He's one of the guys. And I'm like, "Hey, so here's the deal. Get a little bit of info about him." I'm like, "All right, we're going to play this tournament. We're not going to sleep on Saturday night. And or not going to sleep much, but we're going to win the tournament." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, that sounds great." So then he comes down and we go out that night and down at Pacific Beach and, leave the bars at like 1:30, get home, play some Mario Kart till about 3, sleep for about 2.5 hours, wake up, go win the tournament. And then on the way back, during the tournament, I'm like, damn, these dudes are pretty good. But Thomas is really good. He's going to be really good because he was doing a lot of killing for us. So then I call Rich afterwards. He's like, how'd everyone look? How'd JT look? I was like, JT looked pretty good. And JT ended up playing on the Ironman too. But I was like, but the guy we really need to look at who's going to be really good is this Thomas Taylor dude. And Thomas had a great attitude, super positive, super fun, crushing people on the field. And I was like, this dude is destined for greatness. And here we are all these years later, 23 years later, and still doing it, brother. Proud of you.
Yeah, that was a weekend, bro. That was a weekend. I'll tell you. I met Travis Lemansky for the first time that night. We went from hanging out at the bars to Travis Lemansky's house. Didn't even know who he was, but we went and sat on his couch for a while. Then we went and played Mario Kart. Maddie went and took like an hour nap. For some reason, I didn't. I just kept playing Mario Kart. He came back out. He's like, "We're leaving." I'm like, all right, let's go, baby.
Jesus. Oh man, different times, dude.
You can't. Different times. You can't do that anymore. I mean, we're playing like a amateur 5-man tournament. Yeah, you just can't do that anymore. But I'm sure some people still do. But if you want to be really good, you can't do that anymore. But yeah, they were different times.
The two of you,
definitely different times.
The two of you right here, like I was saying with Thomas earlier, have completely paved the way for everyone coming through these days. All of these up and coming new pros and even established pros. Without you two and your gang of friends, all of you, all the homies, none of us would be here having this show and being able to enjoy paintball the way that we do in this modern day and age of paintball. So hats off to both of you and all the OGs that make all this possible, man. Straight up. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thomas, my brother, thank you so much for rocking with us. We're going to hop in here with Maddie, but if there's any last words you want to leave with the listeners, now's your chance.
Hey, continue to support this podcast. Stay in the Discord. Stay active. They're doing great things for the sport. Also follow along Maddie and Go Sports because that's where we get all of our paintball stuff. And shout out to Microdose and Lumi for taking care of the Troll Squad. God bless. I love you guys.
Yes,
love
sir.
you, brother. Happy holidays. See you
we'll
very
see you
soon,
in the
Thomas.
Discord. See you, brother.
Peace.
Maddie.
Legend.
What's up, boys?
What up, baby?
Dude, you made it. I was like, 8 a.m. is definitely too early for Maddie.
Well, one of my favorite quotes ever is "Know thyself." And though I have to get up early because I have a child, and I've back in the day, school used to start early, and our show sometimes starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, depending on the time of year. But I'm just not as eloquent and loquacious about before, say, 10 a.m. Just because I'm a little bit more of a night owl. Just again, you got to know yourself. But for special occasions, I will be up, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and caffeinated and ready to go.
You're the man, Maddie.
Coffee. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm the polar opposite. When we do shows at night, by then I'm usually so mentally exhausted that I find it a lot more difficult than the morning shows. The morning shows, I feel like conversation flows a lot better. It's, I'm really excited for them. Not that the, evening shows are terrible, but I'm kind of the opposite. I find that around 4 or 5 o'clock, my brain starts to shut off. I just want to relax and kind of, do mindless activities.
Yeah. I mean, it's everyone's built a little different, and again, you got to know how your brain works. Yeah. And it's fine. This is fine. Another thing is it's, the holidays. So we got in-laws in town, and then we got Monty's out of school, and my wife had a meeting this morning. So it was kind of like, I was like, well, what time is this? And then when's Mallory coming over? And is she going to pick up Monty? Do I need to drop him off? And then does he need the car seat? It's kind of one of those, like,
dude,
like,
Maddie, you juggled it all for us, and we love you, bro. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. It was like a whole deal, and can't thank you enough.
And my apologies, Maddie. Happy belated birthday. Christmas Eve is Maddie Marshall's birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Christmas Eve was nuts at our house, dude. We had literally 20 people, 6 children under 8 years old. 20, Tyler. We had 20 people. It was chaos. Sahara and I woke up at like 7:30 in the morning, and we were in the kitchen literally until around 11 p.m. I mean, it was amazing. It was really fun. Did like the traditional Italian stuffed peppers, made Italian wedding soup all from scratch, did the sauce from scratch, did everything from scratch. I made cannolis in the evening, which was a nice little dessert. We had tons of like Italian pastries and stuff. It was a really good time, but it was a full day thing. And I realized, and even Christmas. So then Christmas morning, we staged Santa because my little brothers were in town. They got an Airbnb close by. And so, they're the ones they got, 6 kids between the two of them. So we staged Santa, coming over and had that whole deal. So it was a full thing. And I was like, oh man, I didn't say happy birthday or Merry Christmas to Maddie. What's wrong with me? I feel bad.
No, it's all good, man. It's, it's interesting with like a Christmas birthday is that you learn from an early age that the world does not revolve around you. And I think that's a good lesson to learn when you're young. And then as you get older, it's actually kind of cool because then it's a really memorable birthday. Because if your birthday is some like random day in June, sometimes.
Hey, come on, dude. Jesus, June 18th over here. That was a direct attack.
Damn. Sorry, I had to throw that little dart. No, but yeah, no, we just got some friends, a couple friends together, whoever can make it. Again, it's just like, hey, bro, this is going down. If you can make it, cool. If you can't, like, totally understand.
I just recently saw Maddie out here in the desert. That was fun to see you out here as well. And we're gonna play some golf here pretty soon at some point.
Let's do it. We got it. Yeah, let's do it. I heard you got some new clubs, so I would love to play with you again. Tyler hits bombs, by the way. Let it be known. Tyler Harmon hits bombs.
Let's go.
No surprise. Weren't you on like the high school golf team?
I did for like a couple weeks, but then they found out that I played paintball, and I was like, it's on the weekends. They had their games on the weekends. It just didn't work out with the whole golf thing. But I'm glad I chose paintball because I'm glad to be sitting here with you guys and unpacking what we've got cooking up for the 2025 season, which we'll start diving into. And before we get started, Matt, Happy New Year. I know tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so if we don't get it out, Happy New Year to you and the family as well, brother. So we have some craziness that's gone on over this 2024 little off season here, and great show with Todd Martinez as well. Love that one. You guys unpacked a lot of that with the Go Sports show there. Yeah, I kind of want to hit on that if you want. That was a great one.
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things where, this is a whole new era. I mean, like we're heading into a whole new era right now, and I think that's the biggest thing to keep in mind as we head in. There's been so much drastic change, and I mean, it was basically went through all 20 teams and tried to shoehorn that into, we're trying to do it in an hour because our producer Darren had a hard stop, and it was almost impossible. And so basically took us. I mean, we started a little early, whatever. And we barely scratched the surface. We're going through teams. Like, all right, change this coach that, and they picked up this dude and. Because I was even as we started the show, because we're going to do a lot more of this, some deeper dives, because I was like, well, hey, let's do projected starting lineups with some graphics and that sort of stuff. And it was too much. We're going to have to break it up into sections because that show would be 4 hours long.
But the info was amazing. So if you haven't seen that, go to Go Sports and check that out with Todd Martinez. It's a really good show.
Yeah. So it's just, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the two predominant themes, the big predominant theme for the past, since the COVID break, so since late 2020 was Dynasty's, re-rise back up and taking over the sport again, winning a little less than half the tournaments in that span. Congratulations, Marcelo, on that run. And I just thought that sent a really cool message to the paintball world because the core of that team, we started in their late 30s and went into their late 30s and into their early 40s. So, if you're out there and you're 35 years old and you're watching this and you're like, dude, my paintball days have passed me, bro, you could go play D3. And I don't know if you've been to any of these regional series recently, but they're awesome. It's a great stepping stone. Obviously it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of time, a little bit more money to go play the NXL, Major League Paintball, and that's a bigger type of a show. But still the competition, I've been coaching some teams and it's just the regional series are amazing. And I'm starting to see a lot of guys.
Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for the tremendous support with the PTG show. If you are enjoying these episodes and want to help with the progress and development of this program and connect with like-minded, hungry paintball players, then head on over to ptgpodcast.com, click the orange Patreon link, and become a member of the PTG World Discord chat room. And now back to the show.
That I had, knew 15 years ago. And they're kind of coming out of the woodworks and, oh man, I got my life, my kids are a little older, my life's all squared away and I'm kind of missed it a lot. So I decided to start playing D3, and I'm loving it, man. I'm so glad to be back. So I just thought that was a really cool thing that Dynasty did, was kind of throw that signpost up, throw up the bat signal for the elder statesman, like, hey man, you can still do this and do it at an elite level. Which
and
was
it comes with the IQ. We were just talking to Thomas about this. Like, that's why even Marky, I went and did the podcast with Marky on the Full Experience podcast with HK Army, and he's like, you know, people are saying this, that, and other, and Dynasty's getting picked apart. I'm like, don't ever fucking sleep on those guys, ever, because they have the mindset. They know how to win. And that's the hardest thing to learn. And if you can learn that, you can be, I don't care what your age is, you can be effective on the paintball field.
Yeah. And I you know, it's always been, this has been a question we've been talking about for decades now, but like, what is the thing? I caught the tail end of the convo with Thomas. You know, what is, if this guy has it, right? You know, what is that? Or why is Dynasty one more than any other team? Why are guys like yourselves so elite? Why are, you know, I mean, yeah, it's one thing if you're a Heat or an Impact or Damage or whatever, that you can, you know, go out and grab the dudes. Some of those guys are homegrown, you know, I mean, there's a couple of them on all those top teams. And again, shout out to the paintball patrons making those super teams happen. But why do you get that call, right? What was it about you? Or why was it about these teams that come up that do really well, like PB Fit, right? So there's a lot of things there, but that's a 5-hour-long conversation in of itself. But after, you know, kind of trying to condense it and make it succinct, it's kind of like it's both a pliable charisma. It's like the charismatic beast, the spirit that lives in your soul that you cannot teach. And then the applicable, the wisdom you've gained and the training you've done in practice, and making that applicable in a micro moment under stress, pressure, and having to deal with the fear. You know, because there's always that fear of like, am I going to be good enough? Oh, we're playing a team that's way better enough. Are we good enough to beat those guys? Dealing with that self-doubt. So all of those elements kind of puzzle piecing together at the right moment is what makes a team a winning paintball team, and what makes a player an elite player. Again, there's a lot to unpack and break down there, but
I think you said that perfectly.
That was a cool thing with Dynasty. The second part of that is now Fit's win here at World Cup. We did a longer show with Fit too, where we kind of did a bit of a deep dive with most of the roster is you know, going kind of play by play through Sunday. And what's the message there? The message there is you don't need to hire any superstars. Yeah, it definitely helps if you have like a home field right next to you that you own. That's tight. But it's the grind, you know. So right, it's the fact that they've been willing to have the belief in themselves, to be mentally tenacious, to have that pliable charisma, you know, of personality with your, you know, to create a tribe that you want to fight for, and that others will come and fight for you too, and buy in on that, and then work so hard and be so, again, mentally tenacious once you get to those moments. And I saw a sparkle in their eye on Sunday when they made their first Sunday in Chicago. You know, I walked in their pits. I'm like, hey, Fit, man, I'm happy you guys are on the precipice of making it. It's a Sunday here, pretty much the entire year. How you feeling right now? You guys feel confident? Dude, dagger eyes, lasered in. You could just see it. They were just exuding. Confidence was coming off them like an aura from one of the cartoons my kid watches. You know, like one of those Japanimation cartoons when the hero kind of sits there and like bulks up and like the energy is coming off. And I was like, okay, they got it, you know. And they didn't, you know, they didn't win that one, but sure enough, they had a pretty historic, well, not a pretty, an amazingly historic run through Sunday. And so what's the lesson there? Lesson is you can do this homegrown. You know, so the fact you can do this at an elite level into your 40s, the fact you can do it homegrown, God bless PB Fit and San Diego Dynasty for, you know, blessing the paintball world with those lessons. But now we're heading into a different era. Again, not that those lessons change. You know, it's not really rules, it's principles, things that have worked in the past and work in the future. There's a lot of different ways to do this thing we call paintball, both format and how to assemble a team, everything, how to gunfight. You know, there's just lots of different ways to do it, but the principles remain the same. So yeah, with all the changes, there's just been so much change. I mean, only a couple teams emerged completely unscathed. Still potentially a couple changes there with, you know, Uprising and Fit are the two teams that were as untouched as, you know, the most untouched out of all the other teams. Other than that, it's the Wild Wild West out here as far as player changes. So it's like, who's going to be good next year? I mean, again, you know, you know, we don't have forever to talk, but I'm kind of wondering where you guys want to take this, because I could take it wherever. I mean, there's this, but it's going to make it super entertaining for paintball fans. Like, this is going to be this could be a crazy year for paintball fans, because they're, you know, I mean, what creates a fan, right? It's it's seeing a certain type of a sport specific spectacle that that your brain is attached to because you love it for a myriad of reasons. And then, having a story, that because we're emotional robots, man. Like the way the human brain is built, you tell a person a story a certain way, and which everyone knows. It's like when you're with your buddies at a party or at the bar or whatever, and you're like, yeah, do you never believe what happened on the plane the other day? And no one's checking their phones, and everyone's
locked.
Everyone's locked in, because we're emotional robots. So there's a lot of story here. There's so much story that's going to go down in 2025. I mean, and you guys have one of the best ones. It's, the fact that, Impact was flirting with a decent amount of success the past couple seasons. Not too long ago, won 2 events in a row. And, but that's a team that's built to win. Right. And then, Bart decides to go hard in the offseason and grab, a bunch of stars that all came up together here in SoCal, and you guys have been, talking about this half jokingly for, I don't even know, 8 years, 7 years, 10 years, where it's like, oh, it would be great if we could all play under the same banner one day. Oh, that would be sweet if we could all, get the SoCal boys back together. And the fact that actually happened is kind of a minor miracle, that it all kind of worked out with everyone's trajectories and their careers. And so that's just going to be an insane story because the team is insane. I mean, when you look at this roster, it's just funny because Thomas was like, basically described Impact with him on it. And you guys forced him to pick him, or like, he's like, okay, it's you and 4 other dudes. And he just named Impact's like starting line, at least 4 of them if you guys are on a penalty point. So, Impact's going to have a, crazy story. And I'm not even just saying that because I'm on your guys' show. Like, it's a legit crazy story, man. So and the fact you guys are, I mean, Tyler, you're in Arizona, but there's a lot of dudes like you guys have already been grinding in the off season. So
anyway, it's just a hop and a skip,
exactly.
And I'm right there.
Yeah. I think that was a big allure to the entire thing is that, half of us can play together a lot. We could play a lot of paintball together. So this offseason has already been incredibly fun. Brandon Cornell, Rainey, Mouse down here. Tyler, like you said, is right there. Dalton's right there. Before Mikey made the move, he was excited to fly out and practice with us, but now he's going to have to fly to Moscow or Florida. But I think, Nick Laval's, fairly close as well. So I think that's a huge contributing factor to this opportunity is being able to play a lot of paintball together. Not only is that fun, I've been having so much fun doing it, but it is the formula. It is the formula to success. And again, that is something that Fit reminded the league of this last season.
It's always been the formula. Yeah,
it has always been the formula. And top level pro teams, in my opinion, have gotten lazy because they can kind of rest on their laurels. The experience gap was so large for so long that you can just get together the 2 weekends before, learn a layout, go into the event. And there was a lot of separation between you and half of the league. It is no longer the case, which is amazing. I think it's great. It pushes our sport even more towards a true professional sport where this is something you have to commit to full time. I think it's important to not just practice on your own, though. Being able to play together is really important. Doesn't matter how sharp you are. It's that chemistry of looking over and being like, totally. I know exactly what Tyler wants to do right now. This is the situation on the other end of the field. This is what we have. I know his play style. I know that he wants to make this move. Tyler, do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I'm putting the person in that I know is like, is his concern. Like these types of things only happen through a lot of time behind the gun together. And I think that's actually what led to Dynasty's success, in the second run that we had with the team is because we had a lot of years, 2015, we won World Cup at the end, but then we struggled for almost 5 years. We like won a tournament here and there, but 2018, no, actually, I think 17, we started going and playing in Europe together. Yeah, it was 2017. We played semi-pro with a good chunk of us. It was me, Yosh, Blake, Ryan, Tyler came over there. And then, 2018, 2019, and we really started to build a lot of chemistry together. And that culminated and sprouted really in 2020. And then moving forward, it got to a point to where we just knew each other so well. Everybody that was playing knew exactly, we all had an agreed upon way that we were going to play almost every situation. So you don't even really have to talk about certain things. And when you get to that point and Fit has obviously gotten to that point because they came up through the ranks together. So they've been making these decisions and talking about how to break down fields and talking about how to play certain situations amongst each other. Like Tyler says, they have a connected conscious, they have this collective where they all understand how they want to play together. That is a total difference maker. You can't buy that. You can't replace that with anything other than time behind the gun together. So that is, again, a very alluring thing. Obviously, we came up together and have won tournaments together in the past, and now we have a chance to see if we can do it in the pro league, which, I don't see why we can't. So it's really exciting for us as well. And that was a huge part of the decision, was being able to play a lot of paintball together.
Yeah, I think you touched on something that's not just important when you're watching pro paintball or playing it, but it's important at every level of tournament paintball. So if you're down there in D4, D5, D3, it doesn't matter. Again, when I'm coaching teams and I'm criticizing these guys when we're running drills or after, we're decompressing after a point, one of the things I'm always trying to pound on their head is that they have to magnify their awareness beyond the microcosm of their specific fight. And even the fight with the, let's just say you're right next to a guy's in the middle of brick and you're in the snake and you're working together. It has to go past that, because at any given time, with the situation as it's laid out, there's a move that should be happening and then the move that's actually made. And the break in time between that is the big difference in the divisions. And that's the thing when you look at teams that win tournaments. You had just said that it's like you look over and all of a sudden you see Tyler go and you know exactly what you need to do. He didn't even need to say, hey, Marcelo, put this dude down, make this move. You looked and saw the struggle he was in, realized you need to put that guy in, wrap around, put this dude in, put this other guy in. Tyler sees that you did that. He makes the move. And then you wait just a brief second for everyone to pick him up. And then you make your move and you get 3 kills and the point's over. That all happened without even saying a word sometimes. And, and until you identify that that's a possibility and start practicing that, building that into your practice, your structure, then you're never going to get, or it's going to take forever to get to that level, because it has to happen organically. It's like we can either genetically engineer the corn to not die when the frost hits, or we can wait for evolution to try to do that over 30,000 years. What's the quicker way to do that? The quicker way is to just adjust the genes. So we can adjust your mindset and your strategy consciously, and then practice that over and over again until it becomes second nature, or we can just go out and play points and hope that shit happens organically over a long period of time. No, you should not be doing that. There is a correct way to do this. And so again, I know we got a hard stop at around 9:15, but there's there's a lot there. And so when I look at the team that you guys have, the ability, so you already have this massive amount of experience in that combat headspace behind the gun, also with each other, playing against each other, and then now you're going to be able to play with each other quite a bit during practice. You obviously are very seasoned, deep into the deepest waters in our sport, as far as winning tournaments. So you kind of look at that roster and it's like, man, that's going to be tough to beat, and then you look at Legion, and because I've been on the phone constantly this offseason talking to, all the dozens and dozens of different people, and, all these moves and stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff. And then, but when I'm talking to some teams, one of the, where's your home field? How much are you guys playing? How much are you guys committing to this? And this is, at the professional level, right? And this is kind of also a lesson for, it's tough, right? On the divisionals, you got to pay for your own stuff and it's hard, but and then there's different levels of training, but the more that you have that gun in your hand, the more you are with your boys, the more and then once you get there, this is why it's so important to run your practice properly, is that so you're getting the most amount out of it in the least amount of time. Anytime I coach teams, I'm like, pretty hardcore about everything. Like, everyone knows me, I'm a nice guy, but man, when I'm there and I'm on your clock, like, all right, well, look, I'm not here to waste your time. So I'm going to give you radical honesty at all points, because we can't mess around, because you're a divisional team, dude. Your divisional team, you're out here with me once a month, okay, well, we need to make the most of this 6 hours, so it's a very important thing. And
and you've done this, Maddie, for decades. And for people that don't know, Maddie was also a part of some of the most successful paintball teams in the history of the game, and understands the nuances and the details that we're talking about here.
Well, we had to figure this out the hard way too, because when I first went and played when my dad wouldn't let me take the car, I told this to go back and watch one of the PTG before I tell the story. But when my old man wouldn't let me take the car, when I got my tryout at 16 and I tried to steal the car, I wasn't really stealing, I was borrowing it for the day. And he caught me and he's like, I'm like, will you give me a ride? He's like, no. You can't take
That's
the
an
car
epic
either.
story.
Yeah. And I was like, well, how do I get down there? He's like, figure it out. So I took a cab there. But when I get to the practice, like, we're just playing 10 men in the woods. It's not a practice. It's just, we're having fun playing. And that was a practice back in the day. And I grew up playing regular sports. I'm like, I'm happy to be here. I hope I make this team. But this is, so anyway, over time, we had to evolve this. And having seen this for the past 30 years, there is this very specific way this is done. But that's why, so when I'm talking to these other teams, like, how much you're practicing, I'm like, Russian Legion is expecting their dudes to be there for 6 weeks. They're throwing out a decent chunk of change to try to get some of these players. But it's hard because the time commitment, if you want the big paycheck, is you got to be there 6 weeks. And any amount of time that you cut off of that because you have a regular life or kids or a job, they start taking money away, So it's like, and that's kind of hard to say yes to, but that's the tip of the spear right now, ladies and gentlemen. And then these dudes have been out playing every single weekend. It's like when I was out in the desert and I'm like, Tyler, come hang out. And you're like, yeah, let's get the fams together. We'll get the families together. I'm like, all right, what about Sunday morning? We're trying to make it work. And he's like, yeah, I got to go. I'm going to go get some drills in on Sunday morning. Drilling, this is off season. Yeah. And Marcel has been out there every single week. And anyway, this is what's required at the pro level, because there's one of my favorite quotes is, it's an ancient boxing quote, but there are people that go into a fight full well knowing that they did not train as hard as their opponents. I cannot fathom those people, So, and that's the quote. It's a custom on. I mean, there's been a ton of people that have said it, but I love it. But it's going to be a wild year, dude. This is going to be crazy. And I mean, And I think, and I'm really interested to see, the parity has been so good the past few years. I'm wondering if the parity is going to be the same. I mean, when you have some of these, when you look at Legion now picking up Mikey, so they're going to be a little bit deeper. Obviously Impact has got to be, a massive favorite this year. X Factor, they lose Axel, but they pick up Archie. So, that's pretty amazing. Yeah. And then Dynasty, and then you got Fit. So Fit one World Cup. If anyone's not thinking they can't do that again, they could be even better this year. They should be contending. And then Damage, it's going to be interesting.
Tauntauns.
Yeah, the Tauntauns. I mean, again, I just, since we got like 15 minutes left, there's so many ways to take the story. Tauntauns, obviously the Tauntauns underperformed at World Cup. But I think that with the talent they have, the creative way they play the game, if they get a layout that they really like, that their game works on, man, I like that. I like that squad. I just was, again, a little disappointed in the underperformance. It's a fun team to watch, a very entertaining team to watch. Love the way that their coach coaches with no clipboard, just kind of stroking his chin, and then he's kind of comes up with a game plan on the fly after talking to his boys, and it works out more than it doesn't for him. But that's going to be an entertaining team to watch. I think Arsenal. I think Arsenal could be pretty decent this year. They cut Frank Antetomaso, Devin Stewart, Ethan Adams, and Clint Moore, but picked up Archie Barnes, O'Mara. They got a new coach with Chris Jansen. But that's they still got some pretty solid dudes on that team, and they kind of condensed it so those dudes can play a lot. We'll see about depth.
Maddie, actually, with the time that we have, let's kind of do a quick overview. I have the list right in front of me of every single team in the league for the pros, and kind of the nuances that have happened there. So we'll just start with let's go with Infamous. They lost Joe Barrett, picked up Reeser, Geiger, and Velez. So same squad with those pickups. I think that's power.
Potentially going to be losing Zach Patient at some point this year. We're not exactly sure when. And then release Joe Barrett. But man, we could talk about when we get to Dynasty, but we're all going to have to do kind of a quick fire here. But look, Geiger is an offensive beast. Rob Velez is super experienced, and he didn't get a ton of playing time at Edmonton Impact, but he had some big moments for Impact. He's very scrappy, and Infamous is a scrappy squad. Every one of these dudes is a scrappy player. It fits in perfect with their meta, the way they play the game. So, and then Reeser, I just think Reeser, Geiger, and Velez could thrive on that squad. Losing Patient because he'd been their main guy. So that's going to be Jonah's really going to need to step up in the snake.
But Jonah's been playing amazing.
He has. He's still a little, he keeps getting better. We need him to be a little bit more clutch. Now he has been clutch. I mean, he was in Atlantic City, he pulled off the move.
That was the tournament that I saw.
So it's there, right? If he's going to be and when I say an elite snake player, I mean a guy that's proven to help win tournaments. You know, that's true elite, right? So but he's got the perfect attitude for it. I love Jonah Damrose and the Snake, and they're going to get Geiger in there as well too. And then Sam Silberg, who didn't have the best cut, but he had COVID, couldn't practice with the squad. I really like Sam Silberg. I think he's probably going to have a really big year.
Rodarte has been playing great up the middle.
Yeah, Rodarte's the beast, dude. Rodarte is awesome. So yeah, they could be very strong. I called Infamous last year in the sense that I thought that I didn't know if they'd win yet, but I thought they'd have a decent chance. I thought that we'd see them go deeper on some Sundays. But I'm still going to stick with that for 2025. Because you know, with talking about practicing, they practice a lot and they practice the right way. They will bring out a team out or go to a team, play points against the top level squad. But then in the middle of the week, in the lead up to the tournament, they're also doing situational drills. They're doing island drills, 2-on-3s, time drills. They're doing all that. So they have the right type of practice schedule. As long as they can keep that, the few tweaks here or there, as far as, you know, I think that, you know, just a little bit more execution. They need to tweak the execution in those big moments, but I like Infamous's line for 2025.
Agreed. All right. We'll go over to Dynasty. They picked up Bianca and Junior Brown as the coach, lost obviously Margot, Montemayor, and Shear. Picked up Barry and Barrett, Joe Barrett and Kyle Barry. And they still have a star-studded squad with Andrade, Frazier, Fry, Greenspan, Rao, Schonauer, and Yarber.
Yeah, Blake, former MVP award winner. Danny didn't get a little bit of play time there, but it's going to be up. So Danny needs to step up. So the big questions there are replacing, obviously, Marcelo. That's huge. And then Archie as well, too, Chris, right? You know, so those are 3 starters. And then their coach, SK, they're going to damage, right? So I love the pickup of Mike Bianca. I think that's huge for them because I think Bianca, he's a tenacious enough personality. Part of the magic of San Diego Dynasty is being able to have an slightly antagonistic relationship in practice to discuss what actually works. And that in that cauldron of spirit and intensity, the best game plan will come out, right? And I think that Mike's not just going to be a caretaker of their game plans, because if they picked up a weaker-minded coach or somebody that they could kind of bully and like, no, this is how we play this layout. They need someone to be like, I don't know about that. What about this? And I think Mike can go intellect for intellect with those guys. And he did, you know, wonders, taking the Hurricanes all the way to that second place excited 3-point lead on Dynasty in Vegas at the beginning of the year. But then losing Shear is huge because Shear could play offense, but he was a rock in some of those moments as a guy that they could just put over there by himself and know he's probably not going to die. And then he's going to seize the moment if the rest of the play works out, that he's going to take that next spot. So that means somebody has to go into that position and play just as good as him if they're going to be able to have the type of results they had with him in that position. Archie was a force of nature when he was on as either an attacker in the Snake or the 2 on that side. So somebody has to step into that role. And then, you know, Marcelo, you're kind of impossible to replace. But I do like the pickup of Kyle Barry and Joe Barrett because they had some good looks on teams that weren't doing that well. Particularly, you know, Infamous did a lot better than the ML Kings. But when I actually texted Kyle Barry and we talked for a while afterwards, and I texted him, I was like, hey, congrats on the move to Dynasty. I'm pretty excited to call a game where I'm not saying, and it looks like there's Kyle Barry doing a lot with a little as the last player left alive in a 1-on-3 right now, you know, because he was the last guy left alive a ton on that ML team, on a young and talented ML King squad. And Dynasty makes people better. So, and then Joe Barrett's very scrappy, and he's got that offense up the middle, and, you know, he's another guy they can kind of potentially try to put into that spot. But so, yeah, that's, I mean, again, we could, you know, how much time left, and we're going to be you guys are going to be breaking this down. Everyone's going to be breaking this down as we head the next couple months. Cause there's a lot.
I'll be on Go Sports soon. Sorry, Maddie. I definitely owe you one. But
good.
Yeah, as we head into the new year, we'll get that knocked out.
And Yarber, man, I just got to say Yarber, that guy has been kind of in the background, but you could definitely expect for Blake Yarber to make a big appearance on the field for Dynasty this season.
Yeah, he was the first name I mentioned when you know Dynasty. I'm like, Blake Yarber, former MVP award winner. And then you got the core. I hear that Alex is going to take a little bit more of an on-field role, and he's going to be training a bunch for this year. Yosh was dealing with the knee injury, but he's going to be playing a bunch and training. And then Ryan Greenspan, you know, the GOAT in many people's books. So yeah, that team is still stacked and they make guys better. So I think that you never can count them out. Like you said, Tyler, when you were on Mark's show, it's like kind of it's at this point, you're pretty foolish if you're like, that's it, they're done. I mean, people have been saying that.
I know.
For 10 years.
I commented on something. I actually think it was HK that posted it. Like, is this the, finally the end of the dragon? And I was like, when are people going to learn to stop saying that? We've seen this before. No, they're going to be just fine. And obviously anytime there's a big shift like this, being part of Dynasty for so long, it kind of lights a new fire and, reignites those engines. So, they have the IQ, as Tyler says, they have the ability. They've made some really good pickups. I agree. I think Joe and Kyle Berry are great pickups. Danny actually played really well for us in that first event in Vegas, and then didn't get much opportunities. It was hard when you're competing with Chris. He's one of the best, I think, on the Dorito side of all time. Maybe like he's so you're right. He plays really aggressive, but he knows how to have great survivability. He comes up big in clutch moments. So that is a tough role, but Danny is also really good. And Harrison Fry also started to play really, really good for us. He had a really good World Cup, but the biggest one I agree is Blake Yarber. Blake is to me, I'm just going to say it. I was so upset that Blake was not on the field more, especially in the last season, because what Blake brings to a team, is kind of irreplaceable. He might not have the greatest survivability, but he changes the way teams. He changes the way teams play against you. And he was a huge part of so many of our wins. So yeah, Blake, is going to get a ton of play time now, rightfully so. And Dynasty's still going to be in a good spot. I would not be surprised if they won events this year.
Yeah, and the thing I would say about Blake, to co-sign on what you're saying real quick, because we can maybe get one more team in before we got to sign off. But Marcel, I couldn't agree with you more. Some people get so locked into this, like having to play fumble-free paintball, that it gets too static, too predictable. Yep. And every big team throughout every incarnation of this sport that we've had, Woods, 10-man, hyperball, airball, whatever, bro, you name it. There's somebody on the team that's a wild card bully. It's like when you're fighting somebody and they've got a crazy uppercut, or a crazy combination or an insane shoulder. It's just so hard to predict exactly where that punch is going to be coming from. And so with Blake, he's such a wild card that he's doing stuff sometimes that it's really hard to scout. It's hard. And when you're playing against it, as I've seen that play out so many times, like when Blake is on and he's taking different routes and going to different spots and he's this huge threat and you don't really know exactly where he's going to go. And he's making these moves, these run throughs, and you have to deal with that, and then that's taking pressure off everyone else. So I think that, it's, again, he's just a huge asset for that squad.
And he's one of the best off the break shooters in the entire league. And not many people know that, but obviously being in practices with him and he is so good off the break, and he has the height, so he can kind of, he can work different angles and get different shots. Blake, in my opinion, has been, somewhat underutilized and I think even underappreciated in the pro league. And it's a huge mistake. Blake is the man.
Yeah, dude. 100%. One of the most respected shots for me when I gunfight with Blake, I'm like, okay, I got to play this a little different here because this dude is sharpshooter. We would always have this when I was on Dynasty with Blake. We played for years and years and years together. And whenever we would make a great shot, we would always look at each other and go, sniper, because me and him just have those sniper shots sometimes. And it was a fun running joke that we had with each other. So major love to the Yard man out there. And while we have you, Matt, let's dive into the PTG World guest questions. Thank you to everybody who shows out and is a part of our community. If you want to join, go to the website, hit the orange link at ptgpaintball.com, and we'll see you in there. We've got Mr. D. Boyum, 21, one of the Bash Bros. Who would be your
Bruiser Boyum?
Yeah, Bruiser Boyum.
Yeah, know that guy.
We have so many pros in the Discord as well. It's a really fun time. We get to mingle with everybody. He's wondering who would be your dream 4-player golf round to go out there with. Cool. Anybody. It could be anyone from any facet of life playing golf with a good group of 4.
From any facet of life?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be paintball from what it sounds.
Well, Tiger Woods is for sure on that foursome, 100%.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn, Joe Rogan. Yeah, there you go. And me. Give me Tiger Woods, Tony Gwynn, legend. San Diegan. I do Tony Gwynn walks on water out here in San Diego. We got a statue of him at the ballpark. And then, Rogan, because we could just,
You guys aren't going to get any holes done. There's not going to be a single hole done. You guys are going to
I don't even need to play. I just, it's fine. I'll ride in the cart with Rogan. And then
have some brews.
I don't know. That'd be a tough one. Like, who are you going to go in the cart with? But yeah, me and Rogan would be crushing beers and smoking. and then I would just watch Tiger hit balls because that would be epic. And then, I would try, but then I'd be like picking Tony's brain. I just wanted to be, just being in Tony Gwynn's presence would be side, God rest his soul. But I don't know. That sounds like a pretty sweet little golf round right there. Tiger Woods, Tony Gwynn, and Joe Rogan.
Sheesh.
That's
like the one.
All right. Shane Wallace. Shout out to a new GOAT, Shane Wallace. Thank you for chiming in and helping the show and contributing to the show as well with these great questions. He wants to know, what do you think defines or separates a great coach from a good coach? Shane is working on being a better coach himself.
A good coach is somebody, it's as we joke kind of sometimes, like your best ability or one of your best abilities is your availability, so a good coach is going to be there. He's going to be there early. He's going to stay late. He's going to help guide the ship to our what we're trying to achieve, our destination, which is wins. And then he's going to be able to understand, again, this is the good coach, and he's going to be wise enough to understand that you can't coach everyone the same way. And he'll have enough wisdom to help make the team better, both strategically, tactically, from every level. A great coach is somebody that's going to have all of those things, but will be a true leader. The type of coach that can kind of grab you by the scruff of your neck if you're the type of player that needs this and be like, no, I can't have you sit right now. Can you go one more point? I think you got enough, because if I take you off the field, our team gets worse. Let's go. To have that all those things, but to be somebody that people want to fight for, because that's just, not everyone has, again, that pliable charisma, and you need to have that. But then also somebody that, again, a great coach is that somebody that does understand how the game works from a strategic level, but that can describe it in a way to each different person so they can understand it. Because if you say the same type of thing to everybody, not everyone's going to understand that. Being able to take a complex subject and then put it into a little succinct morsel of digestible, actionable wisdom for your players that's going to make them better in real time is incredibly difficult in this game. Because paintball is not like other sports. Like, having played a lot of other sports and watched sports growing up, it's a unique beast, man. We could talk forever about that. So I think the difference, a good coach is going to be there. He's going to have wisdom and he's going to help you out. But a great coach is somebody that's going to have an incredibly high level understanding at all of these things. And he's going to be a force multiplier for everyone on the team, not just one or two guys. So that would be, I think that's the kind of the difference between a great coach and a good coach.
Love that.
A great answer. Yeah.
All right, we got Blaine Tor. He's wondering, Maddie, if you were stranded on an island, what 3 books would you want with you? That's a tough one for you. He's got the bookshelf in the background for everybody on the YouTube watching the PTG show.
Bro, that's like the hardest question I think I've ever had to answer. 3 books?
You got to choose 3. You're stranded on an island. They're going to get you through the tough times.
I would definitely pick I can't remember the name of it, but I have a book here that has like a ton of survival advice, like how to properly build different types of shelters and how what edible plants and foods, and how to make tools, like all that sort of stuff. So I'd take that for practicality. I'm going to need a big long fiction book that's going to keep me entertained, that I could reread over and over again. I'm getting stumped on that because there's so many good ones. Oh man, have to go with like, I was actually, part of me was just like, I have this this famous 3-volume series describing the entire Civil War. It's probably about 3,500 pages, maybe like 3. I don't know, but
3,500.
Well, it's right here.
Holy smokes!
No, it's not 3,500. But here, just give me a second.
If it's in the thousands, I mean, that's
No.
oh my God, look
It's
at
not.
this thing.
But
It's a good fire paper.
But it took it took me a while to read this.
Yo.
But it took me like, I mean, these are pretty thick, and I was like, because I still, working on this history podcast. There's gonna be some stories in there, but also,
I mean, that's thousands of pages you have right there.
Yeah, but when I read the books, I like write in them and annotate them anyway. But
Wow.
that alone. I mean, I don't know how long am I there for? Am I there for a couple years? Am I there?
Yeah,
for
right.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
if I was there for a couple years, like the stories that are contained just within the Civil War, and Shelby Foote wrote this. I mean, amazing. Like just those 3 books would keep me at least entertained. But I kind of want that one book for practicality. I don't know. That's tough.
Oh, you got to have that for sure.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
All right, Maddie, we got one more question. Last one from the Discord. It's from Verbal, and he has asked this to you before. So I'm actually just curious to see if you have the same answer. What is your
Probably
favorite
not.
food and favorite place to eat it?
Well,
you answered this on the show before.
Well, and he also wants to know the favorite beer,
Yeah,
and favorite style of beer as well.
that favorite style of beer is easy. That's the easiest one. That's the easiest question I ever get to answer. It's IPA. That's my favorite beer.
Boom.
I mean, if I had to pick one beer to drink for the rest of my life and it was an IPA, it'd probably be a Sculpin or
Oh yeah.
yeah, probably Sculpin just because it's super drinkable. That's delicious. So definitely an IPA. I'd go with Sculpin right now. And then I don't know if this is going to be the same, probably the same item as far as food is concerned, but the same spot. I don't know because there's so many good ones. Be a carne asada burrito.
Bro, this is so different from your last answer.
Is it? What did I say last time?
King crab legs at Mama's for the birthday.
Oh, that's true. I didn't get it this year. I didn't get it this year. That's why probably I mean that definitely
you forgot about it.
Well, no, I didn't forget about it. It's just we had so much because my dad's birthday is the 15th, and then there's kids and stuff.
Both of those meals, both of them are hitters though. The asada burrito.
I don't think I've had. I just haven't had a carne asada burrito in a while, and I probably should get one for lunch. But yeah, no, that's. I mean, my like as far as like a meal that has love in it, and because it's always around family, and it is my favorite food, would be like my last meal. Anyone ever asked me my last meal, it would be king crab legs and a carne asada burrito with an IPA. Like would be it.
That's the appropriate surf and turf right there.
Yeah, but yeah, damn, no, he's right. That's a great question. I don't know. Yeah, I've just been craving a carne asada burrito, so I guess that's why I went carne asada burrito. Yeah, where to get one? I'm from San Diego, bro. Like there's a shop right down the street. They make them decently, but I don't know.
Dude,
where's the best one? Where's your favorite carne asada burrito in San Diego?
Just because I ate so many of them, so like it has a specific grease taste to it. Ramiro's, right down by where I used to live, in Pacific Beach. Marcel, I'm sure you remember that place.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty good. El Codijan up by Claremont. That one's pretty good too because their salsa is very specific. It's like this orange.
Yes,
salsa is so good.
We have one right here by the house.
Oh, they're bomb.
Damn, y'all need to just shut up. If anybody out here in Arizona can help me find some good
Vic's
Mexican
got you, bro.
food, I need
Vic's
that because I lived in Northern California for 30 years, best Mexican food you could ever find. And then coming out here, I haven't been able to find like that, just super good, authentic stuff. So if anybody knows, please help me out. And then my last question, because everybody wants to know, when is your podcast dropping, Maddie? Your history podcast.
I mean, well, do you want me to read you like the first part of the? No one's heard this before.
Yeah. Break it. Let's do it.
Let me find it real quick. So it's been troubling because there's a lot of history podcasts out there, and I could have done this the easy way, but I got to get rid of all my paintball stuff.
Yeah, because you're just swimming in paintball information. Anybody that's seen Maddie, he always has his his notebook. He's got all this information on paintball everywhere, always.
Well, yeah, because I'm working on this. We got to do more shows coming up here, obviously, but then also, I got to write some hype it up stuff here coming up. So I've been kind of testing different versions of that. So I don't have any of my stuff up, but I do. Let me find it real quick. Also, my notes on this podcast. Anyway, so the tough thing for the podcast was that it's just finding the voice that I wanted to do this in was really hard. And then when I decided on the voice, it's going to kind of sound, at least the majority of it, so it's kind of like writing a book. It's going to sound like an audiobook. So I'm not, some parts I'm going to kind of, hey, breaking down certain things, and it's a little bit more conversational, but I'm not bringing anyone else on. It's, if anyone's has listened to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, he kind of goes off the cuff, and it's amazing. I love his work. But that's like his own style. So like trying to find, my own style was hard, a lot harder than it's kind of one of those things. It's like when you start doing something, and then you dive into it, and it's like
overwhelming a little.
Yeah, it's just way, way, way harder. And then the story that I did not choose an easy story either, because the Battle of Midway is it's insanely hard.
I think you did read this on the last episode. No, definitely not.
No way.
Okay.
No.
And this is like your intro, or what is this?
Yeah, it's let me find it, dude. It's like dude. I wish I.
So let me just say, Maddie, before I know you're going to read this and then we're going to let you go, but we just want to say thank you to everybody out there who has supported us all year long. This is our 55th episode of PTG in 2024, and we're on our way to episode 300. We'll be there midway through 2025, and we can't thank you all enough for supporting us in so many different ways. And if you get a chance, please go to our YouTube channel, The PTG Show, subscribe to the show, and tune in. If obviously you're enjoying listening to the show, keep tuning into the podcast platforms. But if you want to watch it, go check it out on The PTG Show on YouTube as well.
All right. So since we got to go, so this is the very, very, very beginning. So the first episode is about the flight of the Avengers. 6 planes flew off to basically sure death. Again, it's a very complex subject, but and then only one guy survived. Well, 2 guys survived, but one pilot, Bert Ernest, and his 17-year-old radio man, Harry Ferrier. And so this is the very beginning. Bert Ernest bent down to watch a scrap of paper. Sure now, after tracking it ride the wind and watching it flip in the onshore breeze towards him, that it was a dollar bill. He knew, as every man on Midway Atoll knew, that though tomorrow may come, he might not be there to see it through sunset. Somewhere out in the vastness of the Pacific Ocean, death was stalking from the darkness. He looked at the bill and saw it was a $2 bill and hoped that it would be lucky. So that's the very beginning.
I just got the chills.
Dude.
You guys can't see.
Whoa.
I literally have the chills right here on my arms. Maddie,
Oh, man.
I love it, and I will be an avid listener. I love that I've had the opportunity to have many great conversations with you. So as soon as you get this launched, you will have PTG's full support. And I know a lot of the listeners here, ever since you brought up that you were going to launch this podcast, have been waiting for it and are definitely excited. So let's get it out there.
Yeah,
baby.
Again, it's
eventually all good things are worth waiting for.
Yeah, no, it's just been a monster of a project, but I wanted to make it really good, So
Awesome.
Well, if there's any way that we can help, let us know, because we've been through a lot of the trials and tribulations of doing the whole thing, and obviously you have too. You're a master at this, but we want to help and make sure it's successful.
I learned this from Maddie.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys, boys. I love what you guys have done, and I'm just so proud of you guys. I'm not your dads, but fuck, man, I'm super proud of you guys. It's been incredibly impressive to see you guys grow into just fully empowered, grown-ass men doing elite level shit. It's awesome.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
You, brother. We love you, Maddie. Thanks for paving the way and being a huge part of it as well. You are the big brother that has made a lot of this possible. So
straight up.
Yep.
Happy New Year, everybody. Enjoy yourselves and be safe.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to ptgpaintball.com. Click the orange Patreon link in the corner and support the show. We greatly appreciate it. We have tiers as low as $1.99 a month. That is nothing, guys, and it'll give you access to the Discord, where you get access to the players chat and get to mingle with the entire PTG community. We have tons of different pros in there. Tyler and myself are very active, and it's an amazing way to support the show. We also have amazing other tiers. If you want to be one of the best, want to be a GOAT, sign up for the GOAT tier. It's the greatest way to support us, and each month we do a private live stream show, one-on-one kind of thing, to where it's just the GOATs, and Tyler and myself will bring in some special guests every now and then, but you get to ask us questions in real time, live on the air, and you get lots of inside juicy news that we don't share on the show. So, as always, we will see you guys very soon.